Thank you. I'll call this Georgetown County Council virtual special meeting to order today on July the 2nd, 2020. The agenda is a discussion of an emergency action requiring face coverings in certain circumstances throughout Georgetown County to reduce the risk of exposure to COVID-19. And we have an emergency ordinance that we're here to discuss. And if the county attorney would start us off by describing the ordinance, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, good afternoon. This is emergency ordinance 20-33 is what it will be labeled. This ordinance will fall under the emergency powers found under Title 4, Chapter 9 in the Georgetown County, in the South Carolina Code of Laws. What this ordinance will do when the uptick in COVID started occurring in the state, some of the larger cities got ahead of that a little bit more than the counties, and they passed a couple different iterations of ordinances for face coverings. This ordinance mimics more of the Greenville County model than it does the City of Columbia model. The Municipal Association of South Carolina has also presented a separate model that is similar to Columbia. But what this model does is it defines what a face covering or mask is, which includes what we have all become accustomed to, which are basically cloth, fabric, or other permeable materials, with also includes face shields and other items like that, and bandanas. The ordinance will also, as it is currently written, require any person above the age of 10 that enters into a food service establishment, grocery store, retail store, or pharmacy located within the corporate boundaries of Georgetown County to wear a face covering while inside the establishment. It goes on to define those particular types of establishments. This ordinance will also, for those same establishments, will also require that each employee within those establishments wear a face mask at all times while having face-to-face interaction with the public. It does provide for exemptions. For example, if a person cannot safely wear a face mask, has an underlying health condition, cannot remove the face mask without the assistance of another person, there's an exemption for that. Any individual who is actively drinking or eating would be exempt, and this also includes patrons that are currently dining in a food service establishment. It also will require the establishments listed in Section 2 and 3 to post notice of the ordinance and the requirement that would be within the county. We certainly can help through our public information office formulate sort of a template for those folks wishing to have that, and we can put that out for everybody to use, but it will require notice to be placed on the front door or near the entrance of these types of establishments. It will also make a violation of this ordinance a small misdemeanor with a $25 fine per occurrence, and it will be effective for the next 60 days. And it takes a 2/3 vote by you to establish the ordinance. Any questions, I will be glad to answer those for you.
What I'd like to do is open the floor for council members to make comments and ask questions of the county attorney. But I want to start just by saying that this is from the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC. CDC recommends that people wear cloth face coverings in public settings. Cloth face coverings help prevent people who have COVID-19 from spreading the virus to others. Cloth face coverings are likely to reduce the spread of COVID-19 when they're widely used by people in public settings. Cloth face coverings are a barrier to help prevent respiratory droplets from traveling into the air and onto other people. Based on what the CDC knows about the whole role respiratory droplets play in the spread of the virus that causes COVID-19, paired with emerging evidence from clinical and laboratory studies that show cloth face coverings reduce the spray of droplets when worn over the nose and mouth. COVID-19 can be spread by people who do not have symptoms and do not know they are infected. That's why it's important for everyone to wear a cloth face covering in public settings and practice social distancing. Asymptomatic people account for 40 to 45% of COVID infections. Recent studies have shown that those individuals can transmit the virus for more than 14 days without knowing it. The notion that masks are only for people who are sick, elderly, or have pre-existing conditions simply isn't true. Wearing masks can significantly reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19. That's according to a review of 172 studies worldwide. And then just briefly, Council received a letter from Tidelands Health yesterday, and I just want to read a couple of parts of it. It's the letter is signed by Mr. Bruce Bailey, who is the President and CEO of Tidelands Health, and Dr. Gerald Harmon, Vice President and Medical Affairs of Tideland Health, and also the President-elect of the American Medical Association. And the letter reads in part, as our region's largest healthcare provider, Tidelands Health offers our strong support for an emergency ordinance requiring masks in public places within Georgetown County. Clinical evidence clearly demonstrates masks help slow the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus. The latest forecast from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington suggests 33,000 U.S. deaths may be avoided by October if 95% of people wear masks in public. As you know, COVID-19 cases are increasing significantly in our community and statewide. At Tidelands Health, we are also experiencing a dramatic increase in the number of COVID-19 positive patients who are hospitalized. We have adopted a multifaceted surge strategy to help us manage the identification and treatment of COVID-19 patients in our region. To date, we have tested more than 13,000 individuals for the virus at our facilities and at large-scale community testing events. But we need our community's help as we work to prevent our healthcare resources from becoming overwhelmed. We urge the Georgetown County Council to approve an emergency masking ordinance and help slow the spread of this highly contagious virus in our region. So if there are other council members that have comments or questions.
Yes, John, this is Raymond. I have a question for Wes. Wes, what are the chances of this ordinance being enforced?
So the enforcement is an interesting question. The sheriff is on board with the ordinance as currently written. It is going to be harder to enforce than not, simply because it's a widespread. Our county is 850 square miles, so obviously there's no policing that entire jurisdiction all the time, every day. What the notice on the businesses would hope to accomplish is that it provides the business owners, the retail establishment owners, those folks, the ability to simply turn people away if they aren't going to comply with the ordinance, for the safety of their employees, for the safety of the business and others around them. We're hoping that that would help. The sheriff has also agreed to, when he's doing his community policing, to warn people first, educate people first, and provide them copies of the ordinance or the notice. As he does that, he will give it some time. We certainly don't want to turn everyone in Georgetown County into a criminal because they don't have a mask on. But here again, there is a personal responsibility that the sheriff and you folks seem to understand that everyone needs to practice during this pandemic. So enforcement will occur. It will not be widespread and as swift as some others would like it, but it will be happening.
So it sounds like we're relying on the retail establishments to do a lot of the policing or enforcement of this, which in itself has its own set of problems.
It could. I don't know if I would necessarily couch it in terms of relying on them to police it. We would rely on those folks because the ordinance does require it that they post the notice, and hopefully that would give them the power, so to speak, or the comfort, so to speak, to be able to deny entry to folks that don't have masks on. But policing and reporting and that sort of thing, there's not a requirement that a business owner call when someone doesn't have a mask on or anything like that, although we do expect that to happen as well.
Retail establishments are supposed to provide a supply of masks. No?
No, sir. I think I understood your question. No, sir. That it doesn't require them to provide the mask. No, sir.
Okay, good.
John, this is Ron. This ordinance that we're looking at, this is also for public safety issues. But not only that, is to help our hospitals from becoming overwhelmed and to protect and help lessen the strain on our essential workers. Because as this continues to grow at the rate we're seeing it grow, it's not going to be long that we're going to be standing in line just to get to a hospital to get checked. So I think it's very important we move upon this ordinances and get it passed today.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm in agreement with this ordinance, and every day we're seeing an uptick numbers of our bordering and neighboring counties. Yesterday, I believe Horry County had about a 400% increase. We have Charleston County with an increase. In fact, those counties lead the state of South Carolina in new discovered COVID-19 patients. Now, in essence, you have day trippers coming from Charleston, coming into Georgetown. You have day trippers coming in from Horry County, two counties with the highest rates. And I believe to protect the citizens of Georgetown County, we need to move forward and be aggressive in moving forward with this ordinance and the protection of the people of Georgetown County. So that's my position on this.
Good afternoon. This is Louis. All right. And also, I concur with Councilman Carolina and Ron Shelton, really. What the citizenry seems to be asking of us is to take a lead in providing some type of assurance for them. And we do understand the difficulty with the enforcement aspect of it. But when you walk around town and see all the people who are not wearing any type of face covering, I'm sure some type of ordinance from us would serve to encourage those folks to at least start wearing the face covering. The medical facilities, businesses are asking us for assistance. So I think with that in mind, and it'll give them some leeway with not having to say, well, I'm not allowing you to enter my establishment. So I think with that in mind, I think an ordinance at this point to assist them and to assist the medical facility and our citizenry is very vital at this point. So with that in mind, I think it's important that we do pass an ordinance to assist it and to promote the health of our citizens.
Mr. Bryant, does this proposed ordinance also include service stations? I just wanted to make sure that that's a part of it.
Yes, ma'am. In retail establishments, if they sell, I'll say exactly what it says. If they sell, if it's an establishment wherein a person can purchase wares or goods regardless of type, so it would include that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from council or questions for Mr. Bryant? In that case, I'll entertain a motion for emergency ordinance number 20-33.
Chairman, I move that we adopt emergency ordinance number 20-33.
Motion by Mr. Morant. Is there a second?
Second, Everett Carolina.
Second by Mr. Carolina. Any discussion? Teresa, I'd ask you to take a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Carolina,
Yes.
in favor.
Favor.
Mr.
Yes.
Charlton,
In favor.
Mr. Newton,
No.
Mr. Goggins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
who am I missing? Ms. Johnson?
In favor.
Thank you. I believe that's all 7, Mr. Thomas, votes, which will be 6-1.
33 has been adopted. Yes. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.